Hey everyone, Sandeep Singh here from Royal LePage Top Producers, and welcome to my first ever Sandeep Talks Real Estate live stream. Today we're going to be talking about the most common questions I've been asked in regards to selling your home. Now these questions have been compiled through my social media, through my friends, my family, and also various coworkers. And so I've narrowed it down and I've selected the top 11 questions that I have been asked. I'm going to share them with you and provide my answers. So hopefully there's something you can take away from these questions. So let's jump right into it here. The first question I have is, I don't know where to start. What's the process? What should I do first? So the first thing you want to do, and we'll backtrack a little bit, but the first thing you want to do is kind of decide who you want to use as a realtor when you begin the process. It's important to do a little bit of a background check to see who the person is, what kind of services they offer, figure out their personality, figure out if they're trustworthy or not, and make the right decision. You can ask your family, your friends for recommendations or referrals, or if you're genuinely curious, you can go and read a bit about that realtor. Almost every realtor out there has a bio and some sort of Facebook or website where you can learn more about them. So the first step would be select your realtor that you trust. In this case, let's say hypothetically, you guys chose me. Pretty good choice, I must say. So the first thing I would do to start off the process is, once you have a realtor, typically a realtor is going to meet with you in person and kind of chat with you about some basic information, some basic questions you might have, but more importantly, to talk about your property. So upon meeting in person with your realtor, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to do a rough evaluation of your property that is the subject here for sale. So typically the first step is we're going to do a property evaluation, and we're going to compare your property with other similar properties in your neighborhood and in your area that have recently sold, that are actively for sale. And we're going to do a comparable market analysis, or CMA for short. The first step we're going to do is to compare your property to see where it stands in the market, and give you a rough ballpark of the price. So after we have a general guideline of what a rough draft price would be, the next step is your realtor is going to want to tour your house. Once touring your house, what I would do is I would take notes generally about the house. I would ask you, what are the things you love about the house? What are the things that you don't love about the house? When was the furnace updated? When was the AC updated? Does the roof need to be upgraded? How are the shingles like? That sort of thing. So just a general tour. And then once we've toured the property, the next step is I would provide you and explain to you what are the services that I exclusively offer compared to other realtors. Because since you put your trust into me, or you put your trust into the realtor that you selected, it's important that they explain the exclusive services that they offer. Now these services will vary per realtor. Some will be offering services that others won't, but generally there's a basket of services that all the realtors will do by default across the board. But you'll have certain realtors who will, they might have additional services that will go a little bit above and beyond, and they'll offer cool, more advanced services like aerial drone shots, or they might do a just listed postcard and deliver it all throughout the neighborhood, so your neighbors and your surrounding area they've been notified that your house is for sale. And the services will vary per realtor. But that's that's kind of the answer to the first question of knowing where to start and how the process begins. The next question is, what do I have to do to get my house ready for the market? Generally, your real estate agent is going to want to see your property, like I previously just mentioned, but my advice to you to get your house ready for the market is that less is better. Now, what I mean by that is to, for an example, clear your countertops, clear your bathroom, tidy up, make your closets as bare bones and as presentable as possible. You want to set up your house and set it up in a way where it almost looks like you don't even live there, if that makes sense. Less is generally better is what I would say. certain agents, and myself included, for those clients who would greatly benefit from it, we would offer, or I would also offer, a professional home staging consult, which is provided in one of my exclusive services that might not be included in other realtor services. So for an example, if once I've done touring the property and someone asks me, well, what can I do to get my house ready for the market? And if it's a little bit beyond the scope of you and I would then call in a professional home stager, and he or she will give a professional consultation into explaining how to rearrange the furniture to maximize the space and for it to showcase better, what to remove, what to keep, that sort of thing. Next question. Should I replace the shingles before I list? This is a yes and no kind of answer that I'm going to give. Reason being, it depends how bad the shingles are. If the shingles are so bad that wind and water are seeping through and are potentially coming through the attic and damaging your house, and that having damaged shingles is going to affect the price of your house, please consider replacing it. I'm going to say yes. If your shingles are leaking and if they're curling, you want to replace the shingles before you list it on the market. However, if your money is tight and you cannot spend the money to replace those shingles, that's okay too, because we're gonna that's something we're going to account for when we put your property on the market. We would just reduce the list price accordingly as per the condition of the shingles. That's what we would do. Next question. Is it better to list in the spring versus the winter? Now this one has been a very interesting topic of debate for a very long time. And there's pros and cons to both seasons. I'll let you know right away. But generally speaking, spring is generally more active, which means there's more competition happening. So if you're selling your home in the spring, you can expect yourself to have other houses nearby or actually in your area that will also be, for sale at the same time that your property is for sale. So in the spring, you're going to be competing. Now with competition and with more active buyers and sellers in the springtime, you can argue that in the springtime you're going to get more bids. The possibility to create bidding wars and to really maximize your list price throughout the competition does exist in the springtime. However, with that said, to look at it the other way, are you going to get the maximum list price or the maximum sell price in the spring versus the summer? That's a question no one really knows. But that's generally it's my summarized way of the spring. In the winter, I would say that arguably there is a little bit less competition happening. It's a little bit quieter of a market generally, but there will always be buyers and sellers. So if you are listing your house and trying to sell it in the winter, what I found through experience is that the buyers who are looking at properties in the winter are generally a little bit more serious, because if you are a buyer looking to buy in the winter, it could be for the reasons that you want to avoid the competition, you want to avoid the bidding wars that are more prevalent in the spring, or you are a little bit more serious as your life situation has catered for you to having to buy a house now. So perhaps in the winter, the buyers are a little bit more serious, you could say. And one of the advantages to listing in the winter is you can kind of be a trendsetter for, the list price of your house. Because there's less competition and there's less, properties around you, you can kind of set the trend for what you think is right. You can kind of experiment a little bit more to what you want to list your house for sale in the winter as well. So kind of a small pro to the winter. The market changes weeks to week. So, it boils down to personal preference if it's better for you to list in the spring versus the winter. However, one thing I will tell you is the absolute worst time does fall in the winter near Christmas time. I would not recommend you listing your house for sale during the winter, specifically in December near Christmas time. People are busy. People don't want to be shopping for houses in that time. People are spending money on Christmas gifts, dinners, the holiday festivities. So, people's credit and debt might be a little bit higher, and the last thing they can do is search for a house during that time. So keep that into account. So that would be my advice over there. But as a final answer to this question, for the spring versus the winter, it can be said that in January, that's when you have the highest list to sell ratio, which means there's the highest percentage of the price you list your house for sale. For an example, $250,000 for sale, you've listed it in January. The highest ratio percentage falls in that month, meaning if you've listed it for 250, the highest chance is in this month is that you're going to get $250,000. So the highest list to sell ratio exists in January for selling your house. Next question, what if it doesn't sell right away? Well, every client is unique, is what I would say to this if your house doesn't sell right away. And so it is a process that your realtor will have to break down for you. But what I would do is, if your house is not selling right away, is the first thing I would do is take a look at the level of activity in the market. Sometimes buyers, they won't be active. Other times it'll be crazy. They'll be all over the place. So the one thing we're going to look at is how active the buyers are. We're going to look at the number of feedback coming in from the active buyers and what they are saying about your property, what they feel are the pros and cons of your property. For an example, buyers might be saying, I really love the house, but I felt like it was overpriced. So if that's a multiple trend, and if that's the majority of the feedback, that's going to be one of the main things we're going to examine. So another thing that I would also look at is kind of the stats of who's actually viewing the property. So hypothetically, if we posted your house for sale and I looked online and it had 900 hits or 900 clicks on the marketing on the website, on Realtor.ca, through all the various means of marketing, if your property had 900 hits, but 0 people came for a showing, that to me is translating that they don't want to come for a showing because they might feel like the property is overpriced or there is something else wrong with the property. So your agent will have to sit down with you, the client, and have a conversation, really break down the numbers that we have at hand. We're going to examine the feedback from the other agents and from the other potential buyers, and we're going to look at the actual numbers of stats from marketing to kind of analyze why this is not selling, and then take the appropriate steps from there. Next question, what if my neighbors show up at the open house? I would say if your neighbors show up to your open house, that is fantastic. It's awesome, actually. And the reason being is your neighbors can pass the word along to their friends and to their family that your house is for sale. And if they have someone that they would like to live in the area nearby you, they're going to tell those people. And so it's never a bad thing to get the word out, because if you're marketing your property, you want it to sell, it's not a bad thing to have more people talk about it and to spread the word of your property. So I'm going to say if your neighbors show up to your open house, it's an absolute awesome thing. Next question, should I repaint the kids' should I repaint the kids' bedrooms before I list? They are ugly colors. I'm going to say no. Reason being, to each their own. You're not going to be able to, you can't please everyone in the world, and in this case, the market. So unless you feel like the colors that those rooms are painted are going to deter buyers, if you feel that is the case, by all means, go ahead and repaint the rooms. But like I said, to each their own, you can't please everyone. I'm going to say leave it. Certain rooms, leave it be, but if the whole house, the whole main floor is one crazy unique color that actually might deter buyers, then we'll have a different discussion. But generally, I'm going to say you don't have to repaint your kids' bedrooms. Next question, should I take down my family pictures? This is interesting because a professional home stager typically says yes. Take down all those family pictures. Personally, I like the house to showcase and provide a cozy home-like feeling. So I would say as long as there are photos that you are comfortable with, I'm gonna say a few photos, having them up are fine, because I like to create the aspect of a cozy home-like feeling. Because if you are a small family and you leave up a couple photos of your beautiful small family, and a lot of potential buyers who are coming through are also small to medium families, they're going to connect a little bit more with that home. They're going to see the illustration of those photos. They're going to get a sense of how your family belongs here too. So I'm going to say a few photos are actually fine. Leave up a couple. As long as you're comfortable with it, leave a couple of them up. Create the illusion of a great family. Next question. What about my pets? What do I do with them during showings when I am at work? I would say if you can, remove the pets if you have a place to house them. That would be the most ideal. If you cannot, what I would do, and I would hope most realtors would do, is they would let the public and let other agents know about the pets accordingly. So if you can't remove the pets and you can't, or you're not comfortable with putting them in certain places, that is fine. We can work around it. We would just have to let the people know and to be a little bit wary not to let the animals out or not to go to certain areas of the homes, that sort of thing. And as an additional note to this question, I'm going to say if you do have pets, make sure that if you are leaving out their bowls or their water bowls or their food dishes, make sure those are cleaned. Don't leave any residue or crusted old foods onto them. Really make sure that those are clean too if that is something you're going to be leaving outside, let's say in the kitchen for an example as well. So next question. What happens if our house doesn't sell before we have to move? What happens if our house doesn't sell before we have to move? This depends. This depends because if you have to sell your home, your existing home, as a mortgage condition to then buy, then I mean you have to. It's a condition. It's set that you have to sell that for your mortgage to approve you for your mortgage and one of those conditions to happen. So if it's a condition where you have to sell your existing home to buy a new home, then I'm going to suggest, if that is the case, your realtor is going to work very hard to list it aggressively so it does sell a little bit faster and that sort of thing. But as a side note to the situation, if you have to sell but your house is not selling and you've already bought a home, what's going to end up happening here is most mortgage lenders, and please talk to a mortgage specialist about this, is usually you can apply for bridge financing usually in between 90 to 120 days. So if you find yourself in that scenario where you haven't sold your house before you've moved to your new one, chances are apply for bridge financing so you're not stuck paying for two mortgages. Usually bridge financing accommodates you, so it's either reduced or you're only paying the principal amount, not the full mortgage amount on both houses. That would be my advice in that scenario. Similar question, but another one. Do I buy first and then sell, or do I sell my house first? There's really a lot of these questions all depends on the individual, but how I'm going to frame this is I'm going to say, it's not every day that you, the buyers, will find that perfect house, and it's all situational. You find the perfect house, you've been looking for a very long time, and all of a sudden it pops up this week, and you want to get after it, and you did buy it. It's your dream house. I'm going to say go for it, because it's not always you're going to find your dream house. But again, it's personal preference for that one. I'm going to say yes. You can buy and then sell afterwards. Next question. Should I even list with an agent? The market is very hot right now. Couldn't I just sell it myself and save the commission with a company like Purple Bricks? This is a fun question. And what I will tell everyone is, if anyone asks me, can I sell it myself and save commission? I'm going to say, yeah, you can go ahead, but you need to be very careful. And what I mean by that is the second you use a company like Purple Bricks, they're charging you money upfront. And I think that's something a lot of people aren't aware of. So if you're using a company like Purple Bricks, on average, to even use them as a service, it's about $1,000 to use to activate that service before the house hits the market. And then from there, once you've paid that $1,000 and the process has started, generally speaking, you're also going to be offering maybe about 2% to the buyer's agent for anyone bringing a buyer to your property if you don't find one on your own. So $1,000 plus 2% to the buyer's agent to bring in a buyer. You're already at 2.5%, you're almost at 2.5% to 3% right there, which is typically the cost of you using a realtor. Right away, there's a lot of upfront costs that people might think of. So it might be a little bit difficult in that regard. Another thing I want to bring up about using, trying to sell your house on your own by Purple Bricks is that there's actually a security aspect that I don't think a lot of people have been talking about. Because there are certain individuals who do prey on Purple Bricks owners, because what they do is literally anyone on the street, it could be someone with very bad intentions, they can phone you and they can ask for a viewing of your house at any time. Like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I saw your house. Can I come view it and check out your house tomorrow at 7 p.m.? You're going to be like, yeah, fantastic. Someone wants to view my house. Great. Little do you know that these people coming to view your house are experienced criminals who are only there to map out to see what kind of goods and personal belongings you have. They're going to survey your house and plan to perhaps rob it in the next couple of days or the next week. So, you don't really know who's phoning you on Purple Bricks. It's literally anyone can phone you. So you need to be a little bit careful about who you are going to be allowing to show your house. On the flip side, when you choose to work with a realtor, realtors, they'll work with legitimate buyers who at some point have shown them a form of ID or identification. They are qualified, legitimate, serious buyers who have presented ID and some sort of mortgage pre-approval. So the trade-off is with Purple Bricks, you don't know who you're working with and who's coming in, versus using a realtor. You know that the customers and the clients accompanying a realtor are qualified, legitimate buyers and not members of Ocean's 11 that are going to do a bank heist onto your property in the next coming days. So the final answer to this question I'll say is it could be said that you can sell your home faster and more securely and reliably with a realtor than trying to sell it on your own with a company like Purple Bricks. You might be able to save commission by using Purple Bricks. You might save some money, but at what cost? Is it the cost of having your house sitting longer on the market? Is it the cost of working with a lot of non-pre-qualified buyers where the deal might go south halfway through and everyone's at a loss at that point? Or is it at the cost of you getting calls from people that have bad intentions of your house? So take it as you will, but that's my 2 cents about listing yourself and versus a realtor. So there you guys have it. Those were the most asked questions that I have received about selling your home. I hope that at least one of these questions out of the list was something that was also on the back of your head. So I hope you guys had learned something from this. If you have any more questions in regards to anything, you guys know where to find me. I'm very active on social media. My information is very accessible. You can check out my Facebook page, my website, my Instagram, my YouTube. You can call, text, email me if you are curious as to how I can help you down the road. But I'm going to wrap it up for now. Thank you guys so much for checking out my first ever Sandeep Talks Real Estate live stream. I'm looking to do a little bit more of these, so please give me your feedback as to if you feel I can improve these streams. Please let me know. And if you have a certain topic that you want me to go over, shoot me those recommendations and I'll try to make those live streams happen with your topic of choice. Thank you so much for the support, guys. That's all I got for now. Until next time, see you later.